What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nacho Wrestling, and in today's episode of Versus, we are taking a look at two powerhouses of women's division wrestling in AEW and in WWE. That's right, we are taking a look at timeless Toni Storm versus the Eradicator, Rhea Ripley. Both women had very similar career paths, starting off their careers in the independent scene in Australia, and then slowly but surely making their way to WWE for the inaugural Mae Young Classic. One thing is for certain is that both these women have become household names when it comes to women's wrestling, especially in North America. But before we get into the grading criteria and all 5 rounds, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to stay up to date on all things Nacho Wrestling, and if this is your first time watching a Nacho Wrestling video, why don't you consider hitting the subscribe button and sharing this video with your friends. Just like every episode of Versus, we're going to take a quick look at grading criteria. There are 5 rounds to talk about, and those 5 rounds are as follows. Round 1 is overall look and presentation. Round 2 is mic/talking ability. Round 3 is overall match quality. Round 4 is kayfabe accomplishments. And round 5, of course, is overall legacy. All these rounds, with the exception of round 3, are based on my opinion and my opinion alone. So if you disagree with them, please sound off in the comments as to why you disagree with them. And with that out of the way, let's get on to round 1, overall look and presentation. A little caveat about round 1 is that I do genuinely try to take a look at their entire overall look and presentation throughout the years. So how has it evolved from when they first debuted to now? And for Toni Storm, she obviously is a lot different these days in the timeless gimmick than what she was back in 2017 Mae Young Classic Toni Storm. Whereas Rhea Ripley sort of found her niche as the cool goth buff chick early on in 2018, 2019, and kind of stuck with that ever since then. Both of them have evolved a lot since their inceptions in WWE and AEW. Let's start with Rhea, who started off in WWE/NXT as a traditional white meat babyface, wearing traditional red and black gear and not really anything to stand out and stick out from the rest of the competition. This isn't to say that Rhea was bad or anything like that, it's just that in terms of her overall look and presentation, there was a little left to be desired. On the other side, we have Toni Storm, who has become quite the master of reinvention in the past few years. But during her first couple years in the major promotion of WWE, she spent a lot of it, if not all of it, as this rocker gimmick, this lover of 80s and 90s hair metal bands like Barracuda by Heart and everything like that, I think is a big one. Her original AEW theme song sounded very much like that song. Toni Storm really wouldn't find her pigeonhole character, a character that really resonated with people until about 2021, 2022, when she unveiled the timeless gimmick with Mariah May and everything that led with that, which was amazing. A blast from the past, a callback to some of the older era women's wrestlers like Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young. It's something that you don't think would really work, but it does. And of course, there are the obvious Marilyn Monroe comparisons. If we were grading this round solely on consistency and how long they kept the same overall look and presentation, I'd have to give it to Toni Storm, who kept the punk rock loving version of herself around for so much that when she kind of went into like this memory loss gimmick during the timeless era and reverted back to it, it was a breath of fresh air, and it sort of made the timeless gimmick feel a little better because she was an actress playing the role of herself from like 3 years ago. Thankfully, that's not how this round is graded, and I'm going to have to give this round to Rhea Ripley. Rhea's look, Rhea's presentation has become so iconic for WWE. She is one of, if not the most popular superstar that WWE has. So much so that whenever another muscle mommy goth girl comes up in the independent wrestling world, we see them get compared to Rhea Ripley almost immediately. Round 1 result, Toni Storm 0, Rhea Ripley 1. Up next, we have round 2, the mic/talking ability round. I always find myself saying that it is easy to see who the better talker is in this round, but for this one, I genuinely struggled a little bit with trying to decipher who was the better talker. But let's start with the person in the lead, Rhea Ripley. Rhea's promos over the years have definitely gotten better, I would say. I think the stuff she was doing in NXT UK and NXT Prime were good, but she really didn't hit her stride till she made her way to the main roster and just started barreling through people. The more she talked, the more she did in the ring. It all came together really well. I do think, however, she has hit a bit of a stagnant period in her promos lately. Part of that is because she has won just about everything there is to win in WWE, and more often than not, when there's nothing for someone to chase anymore, they kind of run out of steam. This is not to say that her promos are bad or anything like that. It's just to say that I have noticed that she's trying to do stuff, throw some stuff at the wall to see what sticks, and I just feel like some of it isn't really working as well as it should. Meanwhile, with Toni Storm, her promos have always been so-so for me. And I mean that to say that when the lows are low, they are very low. But when the highs are high, they're about as high as Rob Van Dam. There's a reason that nowadays, whenever she's out there in this timeless gimmick, she always has a microphone in her hand or ends up with one in her hand to say something, to get the crowd going, to get the crowd laughing and enjoying the show. It really does help the women's division when they have someone who is as charismatic on the mic as Toni Storm is. With that being said, I think it's very obvious who I'm going to give this round 2 win to, and it of course is going to be the woman that also won my Female Talker of the Year award in Toni Storm. Round 2 result. Toni Storm won, Rhea Ripley won. Time for everyone's favorite round, the round that can't be debated because I use cage match. As always, we take a look at the default settings and just take a look at where the two wrestlers fall in the top 10, or in this case, top 15. And I was shocked to see that these women are literally neck and neck with each other, with Rhea Ripley coming in at the number 11 spot and Toni Storm coming in at the number 12 spot. Let's start with Rhea, since she is technically higher than Toni Storm on the rankings, and there's a reason for that. Not only does she have more votes, but she also has a higher overall match quality rating of 8.51. It's worth noting that she only ever dipped below an 8 early on in her career in 2017. Whereas Toni, like I said, is at the number 12 spot. She does have roughly the same amount of votes as Rhea Ripley, just a few less, but she is rocking an impressive 8.25. It's also worth noting with Toni Storm that she has dipped below an 8 a few times, ranging from 7.89 to 7.2. This is going to give the win to Rhea here, just based off pure statistics and numbers. Rhea is the overall match quality winner of this round. She has a higher rating, she has more votes. Round 3 result, Toni Storm 1, Rhea Ripley 2. The penultimate round, and my personal favorite round out of all 5, is taking a look at how much these women have won over the years, and boy have they won a lot. Toni Storm is one of the few multi-time world champions for the AEW women's division, holding it at a staggering 4 times, which is also the record for the division. She is also a former NXT UK Women's Champion, the winner of the Mae Young Classic, and I would be crazy to not talk about how Toni was once world champion of the promotion in Japan, Stardom, which I will be completely honest, I don't know a lot about the lore and history of Stardom, but when researching this video, I did see that Toni did hold their world championship as well as some other belts. Meanwhile, with Rhea Ripley, she has won just about everything there is to win in WWE, like I mentioned earlier in the video. She is a Royal Rumble winner, she is a 3 or 4 time world champion, she's a current tag team champions with Io Sky, she's a former NXT UK Women's Champion as well, a former NXT Prime Women's Champion as well. She has literally touched every single piece of gold in WWE for the women, with the exception of the somewhat new Intercontinental and US title for the women. I know it's going to sound a little crazy here, but I would have to give the edge to Toni Storm here. She is the ace, bona fide ace of the women's division for AEW. She is the break glass in case of emergency situation. If someone can't really cut the mustard as world champion, odds are the belt goes back to Toni Storm. Not only that, but she's been a world champion in every promotion that she's been a part of. Before you try to tell me that she was never world champion in WWE, I literally mentioned how she was NXT UK Women's Champion. So that technically counts. Bite me. Round 4 result, Toni Storm 2, Rhea Ripley 2. I find that overall legacy, the 5th round, is always the hardest to grade, especially when the two wrestlers are still carving out their legacy. While Toni may be my personal choice and someone that I want to pick, I'm trying to take the objective route here, look at everything I have laid out before you guys today, and I'm leaning a little more towards Rhea. She has more accolades overall. She was trusted to win the big one on the main roster well before Toni Storm was even sniffing a feud with Charlotte Flair, let alone sniffing the world title. Rhea is also one of the few women in WWE that is a true transmedia superstar. She can be seen in video games, not just WWE 2K. I'm talking about her appearance in Call of Duty. You can see her on commercials, on TV shows, morning shows, everything like that. Rhea Ripley is everywhere. I have friends who don't watch professional wrestling, but will watch it if Rhea Ripley is on. This is not to say that Toni is not mainstream either. I truly believe she is one of the few mainstream women's talent for AEW as well. The women's division wouldn't be taken as seriously as it is today in AEW if it wasn't for Toni Storm and subsequently Mercedes Moné as well. As we inch closer and closer and closer to their careers possibly slowing down, Rhea is just building herself up more and more and more as a pop culture icon. Round 5 result, Toni Storm 2, Rhea Ripley 3. Well, there we have it. Rhea Ripley is the better overall wrestler than Toni Storm. I don't even know if I've convinced myself of this one, and I'm recording it right now. I will say it is a tough pill to swallow, as Toni Storm was my female wrestler of the year and female talker of the year, so to see her not win this does hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, like I said, I was taking an objective route, I was laying everything out before me, and I truly do believe that Rhea just has more accolades. Is she the better wrestler in the ring? That might be up for debate. It would also be stupid for me to just give Toni the win because I wanted to. That's not really the spirit of these videos. Whenever Rhea decides to hang up the boots, she will end her career as one of, if not the most dominant woman in WWE history. She is constantly doing things that some of the men won't do or can't do. She plays both face and heel perfectly. Although I think she is a better heel than face, that's neither here nor there right now. So let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments below. Let me know who you have winning this episode of Versus. Let me know if I got any other rounds wrong. Like I said, let me know about all that stuff down in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to stay up to date on all things Nacho Wrestling, and I will see you guys next time.